Guys, we're friends, right? Well, the sign of a true friend is when they discover something good, they share it with you. And that's what I'm gonna do today. This is Loretta's British ginger tea. It is amazing. It's got 100% ginger, cinnamon, elderberry, and manuka honey. Gotta admit, don't know what manuka honey is, not even sure what it does for you, but it just sounds healthy, so I need some. This tea is fantastic for boosting your immune system, helps you feel good, and you'll live out loud like our beautiful British friend Loretta Nakwacha. Please hit her up on Instagram, order some of this tea, and she is at farmers markets and pop-up shops everywhere. You gotta get some of this stuff. Not only is it good for you, but it tastes great. Loretta's British ginger tea. I got some, you need it too. Go and order now.
Hi, this is Melba Moore, and you're watching Rude Rangers TV.
You're listening to Rudy Radio, powered by Rude Rangers Entertainment. I'm Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema Organization, and this is Talk with Terra, a show that highlights fantastic filmmakers, artists, and entertainers from all walks of life. We're committed to introducing you to individuals, organizations, and projects of which you're not necessarily aware, and we do this with the intention of uplifting, empowering, and enlightening you. If you can, please share this episode on all your social media platforms. We'd also love it if you can text your friends and ask them to tune in. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, I am just in awe of this magnificent guest that I have today, and you are certainly in for a treat. I'm just going to introduce her first name, and we're going to get right into it because I want every nanosecond to be focused on the wonderful gifting and power that my unique and wonderful guests have to share. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my incredible guest, Miss Teresa. Hi, Teresa. How are you?
I'm absolutely blessed. How are you?
I am good. I'm blessed as well. And I tell you, Teresa, when we met through Ambassador Cook and she began to really talk about she just highlights some of the things that you have done. It was like my eyebrows stood up in applaud because I am just so impressed and so grateful. I am so grateful for what you have done and how God just used you to really affect change in such a powerful way. And I'm just scratching the surface. So, but you know, I can talk for our entire segment, but that's not what this is all about. So I want to get started here. What drew you into media? Can you just tell the audience, how did you get started?
When I was a little girl, I used to always love art. I loved typography. And if anybody is old enough to remember, you used to buy those little sheets in the store with the rub off letters. I would take those and compose entire letters and stuff like that with those little rub off letters. I just love the look of words on a paper. I loved reading. I loved everything media. And I really didn't know that was a gifting or that was a passion until I, kind of started exploring and stretching out into it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm young, but I do remember that. That is great. That is great. So, Teresa, you have went on to, by leaps and bounds of amazing things, and one of which is your publication. I did not know that you were the founder of this particular magazine, and I'm deliberately not saying the name because I want you to say the name, and also how did you get started with it?
Well, the magazine that I published for 23 years, from 1989 to 2012, was Gospel Today, a
Yes.
magazine about Christian lifestyle. And it was a publication that started as a 4-page newsletter. Again, it was amazing, and it was a miracle. I was working 2 jobs, had 3 kids, was divorced, and barely able to make ends meet. Was able to put together $300 and start with a 4-page newsletter that people told me, honey, whatever you do, don't quit your day job, because this ain't gonna work out.
Wow.
And God just breathed on it. And it went from the newsletter to the magazine, from the magazine that was just about music and ministry to lifestyle, and took me around the world, literally. So it's just the testimony. And, you know, I wrote a book recently, a new book this year called Unstoppable. And the story of it is, the underlying message is, anytime you have a vision that God has given you, if you will dare to put your one foot in front of the other, you may not know if it's going to land on solid ground or you're going to stumble and fall. But if you just try, just go out there and believe for what God has put inside you, you will find that you are unstoppable.
Wow. And that is powerful. Let me tell you, there have been many a days that I would go get my copy of Gospel Today and be in the corner somewhere flipping it and reading it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I am so grateful that you follow, God and that calling, because like many others, I'm sure I was certainly inspired by the stories that you desired to tell in that publication, and even the people that you highlighted and interviewed, and how honest a lot of them were in talking about their processes. And Teresa, that's, to me, that's one of the key elements for inspiration, is being honest about the process. Because like you said, when you embrace the calling, there will be opposition. But if you understand that that's part of it, you can move forward. And I appreciate you doing that on many levels. So I definitely have to get that book as well that you just wrote. Out of the folks that you interviewed, are there any ones that stood out to you in a particular way, and why?
Wow, so many people that I interviewed that they stick in my mind. I would probably say Jesse Jackson comes to mind. Of course, civil rights pioneer and trailblazer. But when I talked to him about his run for the presidency, he talked about how disappointed he was that the African Americans in the season that he was running did not believe that he could win. Of course, we know now, looking back in history, that he paved the way for even a run for Barack Obama. And, it was Jesse, he said that he told me about the first time he went to the Democratic National Convention and they wouldn't even let him in. He had to go off into this holding area. Then the second time he went for the, presidential one, he was on stage making, a speech, and then of course running. But it was just amazing to hear the history. Of course, he was there when Dr. King was assassinated. So it was just amazing. Again, civil rights is a passion of mine, because I think there are too many of us as African Americans that do not know our history. We do not, as a culture, we haven't celebrated our pioneers. We're just coming into a place where we're celebrating our heritage and where we're celebrating those who have blazed trails. So I'm glad to have been part of telling those stories. So Jesse, of course, Bishop T.D. Jakes, an amazing man of God, so insightful, so deep, so profound. And what I looked at him and just loved was the fact that he was maybe sometimes nervous about things, but he would always step out and just dare to dream and do. A lot of people dream, but they don't do. And so, concepting a mega fest, concepting a woman thou art loosed, a manpower, writing 40, some 50, some books, all of the things that he did now in movies and, talk shows. And, he had a clothing line. People just don't know. He is like the ultimate entrepreneur. And, we would just laugh sometime, he and I, about, some of the good and some of the bad, because everything he didn't work. But, it's great when you see people that, are transparent enough to say, well, that was a mess, but I tried, So I loved talking to him. And, over the years, from seeing him come from West Virginia all the way to Dallas, and seeing him be, a household name now in most Christian homes. So I remember talking to Natalie Cole and interviewing her, and her sharing, really how insecure she was with her own voice, and talking about she didn't like her voice for years. And I thought that was incredible, and it was like step after step. And then once she did the thing when she did the duet with her father, he was gone, but then she really appreciated the legacy and, all of those kind of things. So just getting a chance to share those stories. I interviewed Whitney Houston, Denzel Washington. So, of course, it's lights and camera and action. But then, even people like Shirley Caesar, Albertina Walker, the pioneers, the trailblazers, talking about how they used to have to sleep in the hotels that are in that green book, and they couldn't go, when they did the tours in the South, they couldn't go to certain places. So it's just amazing, all of the history that Gospel Today had a chance to expose, and I got exposed to.
That's amazing. I need to create some sort of Gospel Hall of Fame, because you would certainly be the recipient this year.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so important what you've captured. And you're right. And especially now in this era, unfortunately with the George Floyd murder, and then also many Americans recently found out about what took place in Tulsa, which I just was so sad how they went overboard to try to hide that, that piece of history. And so now that opened up a floodgate to, okay, well, what else? What else happened? What else took place?
Right.
So, that's one of the reasons why I so deeply appreciate your gifting in telling the story, because this is what generations that are coming behind us, they need to know these things, because it is empowering, it is inspiring, and the gifting that God put in us too need to be shared. So we'll be right back after these messages. You're listening to Talk with Terra, presented by African American Women in Cinema, right here on Rudy Radio.
Hi, I'm Harry O. Confetti, international Formula One driver. I sped to get to Long Island Telecom before they closed. I need to get one of these fantastic deals that Long Island Telecom has, because you can't beat the price anywhere else. Oh, get away from that car. What are you doing? Freaking kids playing with the car out there. Anyway, I'm glad I got here. Wait, what do you mean you're closing? I gotta come back tomorrow? What's your number? 631-833-9679? Oh, stop writing me a ticket.
We're having a conversation with African American filmmakers. Join the African American Women in Cinema Filmmaker Series at the Clubhouse, presented by I Am the Color of Beautiful Global, every Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. AAWIC on Clubhouse. Join us on the Clubhouse app for this inspiring conversation. Hosted by Karen Moore, founder of I Am the Color of Beautiful Global. Join us this Monday at 6 p.m. on the Clubhouse app for African American Women in Cinema's Filmmaker Series.
Hey, this is Jewel Taker from the Jewel Taker Show on Impact Network. Also, you can watch me and my family on The Tankers on Prime Amazon, or watch me and my sister's Chatter Talk show on Fox. So me and my girls, Dr. Dee Freeman, Monique Eilert Mosley, Real Talk Kim, and Holly Carter, and you're watching Rudy Radio.
Welcome back to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema. And today we're talking with the fabulous Teresa, founder of the powerful publication Gospel Today and book author. And she is just giving us these rare jewels, insights that, I hope you audience are taking notes, and certainly will be able to have them and put it in your back pocket as you go through your process, just to inspire and encourage you along your way as you realize the gift and talent that God placed in you. So Teresa, I tell you, before you went on break, you were sharing with us some of the stories that you shared with the world and what stood out and what was a highlight to you. Anything that anyone said when you did the interview that you needed to hear? Was it like a rhema word at the moment? What I mean by that, sometimes a lot of people, they don't understand is when you are following the path that you believe you should be on, and there are those moments that are extremely challenging. And sometimes I would hear a conversation, two people are talking, and then there's one word that will jump out because they're talking so loud. But I think that God allowed that because I need to hear that word.
Right.
So did you ever have those type of moments when when you did those interviews and you were really facing a super challenge yourself, and then what they said really encouraged you at the time?
So many moments, Terra, because what happens is that when you're struggling and you're trying to do something to help other people and to do your purpose and your passion, and you talk to other visionaries, you become empowered because of their story, because of their struggle, because of their journey, and because of where everybody is on the journey. It's not the same place at the same time. So you may have gone through part of what they've gone through, or you're going to it. And the thing is, it all empowers you. And as when I learned, I think the biggest lesson I learned was to listen and to be quiet. A lot of times we're so busy with so much noise in our lives that we don't take time to get quiet and to listen. And one of the skills I developed and had to develop as a journalist was to listen. And that's really something I think people take for granted. Oh, I heard this, I heard that. But sometimes we're hearing things, but we're not really listening. And so I learned to listen because people, they will tell you a lot that will empower you, inform you, help you along your journey if you listen to the lessons and learn the lessons that they learned.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. This prompted me to also ask this particular question. In the process, I don't even know why I'm being drawn to talk about the process with you. But thank you for flowing. Thank you for flowing, Teresa.
That's okay.
Sometimes you can face so much opposition until you begin to doubt, am I doing the right thing? But what was that moment for you that confirmed, that told you, Teresa, you're doing it? This is what you've been called to do. What confirmed that for you?
Wow, so many times. The big question I used to get all the time is, did you ever think about quitting? And I could, just like, how many times do you want me to talk about? There were times when I ran out of money, I ran out of friends, I ran out of everything, energy, but I never ran out of God. And, the thing about passion and the thing about purpose is there's something in you that even when you're tired, dog tired, and the bank account ain't right, you can't pay the bills, all of that, there's something in you that says, but I can't quit that, because that right there is why I'm here. And when you know that, that's the biggest thing. Who was it that said the two most important moments in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why you were born? So that is so much the case about, not giving up. And it's like, why give up? What are you going to do? I remember talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying, oh, I'm so tired. And I was just going through all of the stuff that was going wrong in my life. And, this didn't work out and that's going sideways. And he said, well, if you quit, what you going to do? And I said, well, now that is something to consider. Like, do you have another purpose? Did God, no, he gave you one general overarching purpose. And once you get that, you may do the assignment in different ways and do different assignments in that purpose path. But you have one path of purpose. And as long as you stay on that path, you stay in a place of safety and you stay in a place of productivity.
That's powerful. I love it. And it's true. You do stay in a place of safety and productivity. That is the definite truth. Wow. Well, Teresa, I wanted to talk about something that we had recently discussed when we were on an interview together, and you began to talk about the gifting you have to be able to see certain people right before they take off. And I was just fascinated with that.
Yes.
When did you discover that gift of seeing the person before they were introduced to the world?
Well, I never really discovered it. It just kept on happening. And I would be as amazed as other people would be when I saw it just transpire. And then I recognized that God had given me this almost prophetic insight. And, in the body of Christ, in churches, prophetic gifts are something that we want people to talk about, the money God has for us and all of that. But when I see people, I see some kind of way God gives me insight into where they're going as opposed to just where they are. And once I talk to them and connect with them, he really clarifies that. But some kind of way, God has almost directed my pathway to intersect those people. And every time I would come across, and, I'd be just sitting in my office thinking, well, this is a topic that I should cover, that we should write about. And then all of a sudden, this person would pop up on my screen, and it was like, oh, okay, let's do a story on this person. And so it was amazing to see that happen over and over and over again. So this magazine, and with the magazine Gospel Today, it was like, I knew it was a magazine, but it was also a mission and a ministry and a miracle to see what God did through it. So as I was able to share and expose people to the world, it was like, God really impressed upon me the importance and the responsibility to share the right stories and the right subjects.
Yeah, and timing, Teresa, is everything.
Yes.
Because, and that's one thing in being sensitive and being able to pick up on how God is moving, because what may seem irrelevant today, and you have such a strong unction to still move in a certain direction, will become relevant the next day or the next week or the next month, and that's why it's so important to develop your inner man, if you will, to be able to take a stand once you sense certain things and say, no, I know what you're saying and I know how you're saying it, but we have to go this direction. I know you had those type of conversations.
Yeah, I think we're really in a crossroads time right now. And I think it's even amazing that you and I are talking right now, because there are people hearing our voices right now who are at a crossroads in decision in terms of where they're going to go, because now a lot of doors have opened to us, but we have to be very careful and strategic about the doors that we go into and how we go into them and what we take through them, who we take through them, and who we deal with right now, because this is such an important era that we're launching into. This post-pandemic era, this post, everybody being shut down. This is an era where we've had a chance now to hear clearly the direction that God has us to go in. So, one of the mantras that I have is a 4C approach to purpose. And the first C is clarity. You got to have clarity about what it is that you're called to do. What is it that God said, and what is it that it's time for now? And that will resound in a place where you will know it in your spirit, and you will see the manifestation of the need for that. So clarity, and then commitment. You got to make a commitment to what you've been shown to do. Sometimes we start out in things and we just kind of do well, and if it gets difficult, or if we don't have the money, or we don't have the support, well, maybe that wasn't God's will. Well, you got to know clearly what His will is and make a commitment to do that, and whatever it takes. You got to have that whatever it takes attitude. Then the third C is going to be courage, because it takes courage to buck up against systems, against principalities, against all kinds of historic things that have kept us back, even as Black women. And, we can say this as Black women, but even just as people, we know that there are things, people of God, that, you would go into corporate environments and you would be kind of quiet and you pray in the bathroom and all that stuff. And now you got to boldly declare and take authority in the places that you've gone, because many times we're going as entrepreneurs, we're going as sisters who own companies, sisters with vision. And we've got to come boldly understanding that God has called us to such a time as this, into places where we're going to make impact, we're going to make impression, and we're going to make history. And then the fourth C is consistency. You've got to be consistent in your personality, consistent in your character, consistent in your integrity, and consistent in the prosperity. And not only that, but not only the prosperity for you and yours, but bringing other people along. So wherever you are in your progress, in your journey, you've got to bring other people along and be consistent as well as persistent. So those are the 4 C's that I kind of focus on and share with others who are, walking that journey.
Woo, that's powerful. And we'll be right back after these messages. You'll listen to Talk with Terra, presented by African American Women in Cinema, right here on Rudy Radio.
Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Bob Lee from 107.5 WBLS and the Make the Grade Foundation for Education. You're listening to Rudy Radio.
Welcome back to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema, and I tell you, our guest today, Miss Teresa, is on point. We're talking about the process. We're talking about where we are, and she's just giving such incredible golden nuggets. Teresa, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate those C's, and I'm almost like I heard a joke recently where a person took someone to court, and they said that the way they described themselves, the judge just gave them everything and was even looking for dreams, you know. So outside of the C's, anything else you can share with us? I mean, that is so tangible. I'm taking that in for myself, and I really appreciate you sharing that.
Well, I think that the season that, again, you know, God works in cycles and seasons.
Yes.
Where you have been is very specific, because, you know, Romans 8:28, which is like a scripture that I hang all my life on, it says that, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them that are the called according to his purpose. And, you know, what's important is that we know the part that says, and we know, it means those of us who believe God, who trust him, and who dare to obey him and to walk in purpose. We know that all things work together. That means the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the downs, the relationships that didn't work out, the people who walked out on you. You know, I've come to a point in life, and I want to share this with your listeners, Terra. I've come to a point in life where when people walk out and say, well, you know, whatever their little excuse is, or their reason is for not being in relationship, I'm like, ooh, thank you, God, bye-bye. You know, and I used to, oh, what did I do wrong? And well, why didn't they? And you know what? And not anymore. I'm good, because my thing is, it makes room. Sometimes you got to clean out the closet. Yeah. And the closet of relationships is really, and I don't know why I'm talking to somebody there, but the closet of relationships that don't honor you, you know, if you don't go where you're celebrated and you stay where you're tolerated, you will never progress to know who you really are and to appreciate yourself. If people around you don't appreciate you, get away from those people, because they will hold you down, hold you back. You need joy in your life. You need excitement in your life. You need people who are like, wow, girl, you getting it done. Yeah. And you need people who push you, not who pull you back or get you all wrapped up in their world and their problems and their drama. You ain't got time for drama of other people right now. This is a time to move ahead. So all things work together. Everything that you are about, everything that has happened to you, is all culminating in this season. So it's working together for your good and for God's glory. But here's the real important part. It says at the end of that verse, for those that are called according to his purpose. His purpose, not your purpose. We go through life and the world tells us, you know, live your truth, walk out your purpose. That's not, when you become a believer, when you trust God, you adapt his purpose. You adopt his purpose. And that word purpose in the Greek, if you look at it, it means the same. It's the same word from which we get the word for a prosthetic. So a prosthetic limb is a limb that once you have an amputation, you have to have a prosthetic limb. And sometimes that limb even works better than the first limb that was amputated, right? So we get to a point in purpose where we acknowledge that I needed to amputate. I needed to have an amputation of what I thought and how I was living and how I was doing what I was doing. And I needed to have that replaced with his purpose. So now once I'm walking in his purpose, I'm in a whole different flow in my life. I'm in a whole different season in my life. I think different. I look different. I feel different. I got more pep in my step. I got more joy in my spirit. Ain't nothing bothering me, because I'm out here on a mission and God's got my back. You ain't got to have my back. You ain't got to like me, but God's got me. And so no devil in hell is going to come up and win the battle against my purpose. So that's what season it is. That's what time it is.
Wow. Woo. Teresa, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Powerful. Well, do you want to share with the audience too, what's next on your wonderful global plate
Wow.
that you have coming down the pipe?
Well, some projects that I'm involved in. First of all, I know my assignment is media, so I'm on television weekly on the Impact Network, and hopefully your viewers will tune in. I'm on Saturday nights at 10 p.m., a 30-minute show called Higher Impact, where we interview people and talk to them about great things that they're doing all over, from politics to education to entertainment and everything. So that's called Higher Impact. So I'm with that. The Impact Network, for those that didn't know, is the largest African-American owned Christian network in the world. It's carried on DirecTV and all these AT&T and all of this Comcast. So you can find it, you can get it on Roku, Impact TV. So I'm into television. I'm also going to get into movies. I'm working on a documentary project about gospel music, because we've got to tell the story. And what I found is that as I've been doing the research, gospel music, of course, our listeners know it is the music that brought us and taught us and kept us and rocked us to sleep at night and woke us up in the morning and started us on our way. And we rolled around in gospel music at church, all that. But in the industry, gospel music is definitely not acknowledged as it should be. Even the rappers, when they get up and give, I give honor to God, and but they done said everything in their songs. They get their inspiration many times from the gospel music that they were raised up on. And we've got to honor that music. So I've gone back and I found some new discoveries about the origins of gospel music that I want to release into the world. I want people to really understand our roots of music came out of this music that was way even before Thomas A. Dorsey. This music goes way, way back. So I'm going to be sharing some things, and people can go on my website, teresahairston.com, and sign up for free to get my updates, and they'll be able to connect with me on various projects that I'm doing. So I'm doing that, which is a big thing, and I'm doing a book along with it. And then I'm still helping some other folks. I'm selective now about people that I'm helping to write their books and to develop their impact on the world. Let me just say that whether you're looking for me to help you or not, it doesn't matter. But you need, many people have stories to tell that are going to impact future generations, and you need to write them, because every Sunday we turn to some scripture in the Bible, which is a book that is thousands and thousands of years old, but stood the test of time. So if that book can last for thousands of years, hopefully yours can last for 100 years, and your family, your ancestors will know your story because you told it and somebody didn't give a version of who you were.
That's powerful. And just could you please repeat the website again?
Teresa? Sure. It's my name, teresahairston.com. And Teresa is Teresa, and then hair is like hair on your head, HAIRSTON.com. That
is awesome. Now, here's my question. I have to ask this. Will there be a special, it could just be a one-time thing, but a special digital collective item of Gospel Today magazine?
Well, when we first started talking, I told you about this book that I wrote, Unstoppable. Well, Unstoppable is not just my story. It's the whole encapsulation of Gospel Today. And in that book, every magazine that I published is pictured for 23 years. So every magazine, there's a picture of the cover in that book. So it's a collector's item. It's a heritage item. It's a history item. I hope people will take it and share it, because Gospel Today was really a unique publication. And I don't say that just because I founded it. I say it because it impacted a culture. And, it was part one of what I hope will be just, publications that come out from gospel folks and tell our stories for years.
That is awesome. Wow. And Teresa, could you also share your any social media handles that you have?
Yes, I'm on everything you can get on except, well, I'm on TikTok, but not really. Okay, I don't know how to do the videos and stuff like that. So I'm Dr. T. Hairston. Again, Dr. T. Hairston, DRT, and then Hairston, Hairston. So check me out on Facebook, on Instagram, on all them things. And I actually get on, and I'm going to be doing more where I talk to people about purpose and vision, especially at the end of the year, going into the beginning of next year. It's so important that you lock into your vision, your purpose, your goals, your strategies. So this is a time where I really feel called to speak into people's lives.
Wow. Woo! I tell you, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you.
You know, Teresa, I could sit down and listen to you literally all day because you're certainly, inspiring me and encouraging me. What are some of the countries that you have visited because of what you've been called to do? Any of them had a certain type of impact on your life? Any country that stood out in particular?
Wow. Yeah, I've been literally all over the world, and I thank God for that. A couple places, of course, I have not been yet that I hope to go, but I have focused, and I'm really developing a it's amazing that you asked me that. I'm developing a following of people who I want to take and have cultural experiences and spiritual experiences, both wrapped up in packages where we can go. Like I just got back a couple weeks ago from Greece, and to go there, and you realize that the whole New Testament of our Bibles is written in Greek. Yeah, that's the original language. So the influence of Greece and the influence of the Greek culture, and going there, I did the footsteps of Paul. I want to take people back so they can experience that, and that they can experience the ministry and the country. We'll have fun, we'll shop, we'll eat, we'll do all that stuff, but we'll also be educated, we'll be inspired. You will come back from that journey understanding the opposition that Paul faced and knowing that you still can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, which is what he wrote to the Philippians. And we went to Philippi when we were there. So this is something that, I mean, every Christian, we've read the Bible most of our lives, but we now need to experience it. So to Greece, to Rome, of course, to the Holy Land, and then, of course, to Africa. So those are some of the tours that I'm setting up now. And I've been to these places, but I'm going to now take people back. If you're interested, again, go to my website, sign up, teresahairston.com. You can get free information. It won't cost you anything. And then you can decide if you want to go on the tour. Of course, I'm making sure that we're COVID safe and that we're going to countries where, we know that the protocols are in place and we're in place and we're vaccinated and we're all that, So hopefully this will happen. Probably, I would say we're going to give it probably 12 months before we really start launching out and make sure that everything's in place, where we go and there are no issues. So, but that's a very exciting part of my next. So that's one of the things that I'm really, really excited about.
Woo, that's awesome. And we'll be right back after these messages. You'll listen to Talk with Terra, presented by African American Women in Cinema, right here on Rudy Radio.
Hi, I'm Dan O'Shea, Executive Director for Maureen's Haven Homeless Outreach. It is our mission to support the homeless in our community. We provide an emergency winter shelter program, a day center, and support services to help the homeless in our community. With your help, we can continue to provide services so critically needed to the homeless in our community. Please visit www.maureenshaven.org or call us at 631-727-683.
Welcome back to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Woman in Cinema, and today we are talking with Dr. Teresa Hairston, and I tell you, amazing insight, and just so humbly and deeply appreciative. I have a question that was so interesting what you said before we went on break in regards to the countries. And I saw just a snippet, and I always stated that I would go back and do more research. But there's a part in Ethiopia that is really, someone told me is part of the whole, or they really practice a lot of the Old Testament. Yeah. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I've not been to Ethiopia, but I do want to go, and I'm told that it's where the Queen of Sheba came from. But when I've been in Africa, parts of Africa, Northern Africa, Egypt, even in the Holy Land, and the Ethiopian sect is a very, very different sect of Christianity. They're Jews. And so, of course, they are, bound to the Torah, but they are very devout. And I think what we learn from them is how devout they are, and we can take some of those lessons. And that's one of the things that I think is so amazing, how they really, really practice their religion and keep it. I mean, they keep the Sabbath holy. Again, we live in America where, we're just kind of all out with whatever we do. But when you go to the Holy Land and you go to those, areas where the Jews still practice keeping the Sabbath holy, they do nothing on the Sabbath, but keep it holy. And, even in Israel, they shut down the elevators and, all kinds of stuff. So they don't cook. So all of so it's really a different culture, but you get an appreciation. And that's the thing. You can't get the appreciation from staying at home.
That's right.
And being afraid, life is this world is so amazing, and there's so many grand opportunities to experience other cultures. So I encourage people to stretch out, branch out, stay safe, but go and enjoy learning about others. So and those Ethiopian women are beautiful, just beautiful. So, and men too, they're just beautiful people. Yeah. So I see why Solomon was like struck by the Queen of Sheba. that girl was probably all that and chips.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, Teresa, you've really truthfully already answered this in so many ways, but I have to ask it again in a direct way. I am sure, a lot of our listeners are millennials, and I was very so proud to have learned that. And so now we have folks who are starting out and just starting to tamper or kind of starting to embrace what they've been called to do. What would you say to a young person who is starting their newsletter, on the onset? What would you say to them?
Well, I think now we're in a season where you have to be very wise about what you are doing, and, how can you do it and make it a business? So studying, I think, is the first thing. And that's for anybody who is in any discipline, whether it's journalism, anything that, you go into, you got to study, you got to research. Then I think once you study and you find out, here's the lay of the land, here's who's making money, then you go find somebody who's doing what you want to do. And you ask them to be a mentor to you, or you choose them as your mentor, because not always do you know your mentors. A lot of times you will find a mentor by just watching somebody and by learning and patterning what you do after what they've done. So you may not get them to pay attention to return your email or phone call, but you can just watch them, study them. You can go read their books. And you can become a mentee to people that you've never met. So you need to study, research, then you find a mentor, and then you stretch out, you write a business plan. The Bible tells us in the book of Habakkuk, the second chapter, it says, write the vision. A lot of times we want to just fly by the seat of our pants and do whatever it is that, we want to feel like we want to get up this morning or this year, I'm going to do this year. And a lot of times we don't know when we're off track because we never wrote down what the things are that keep us on track. So we've got to have a strategic plan, a vision plan. And, I write a vision plan even now, every year. I write a vision plan. And I have various areas in my vision plan that I focus in on. What are the top things that I need to accomplish this year? What is God showing me? What is he telling me? I even talk about my spiritual life in the plan. What am I going to do? Am I going to read more? Am I going to pray more? And then not only do we have goals, but we have SMART goals. Our goals are strategic. Our goals are measurable. Our goals are attainable. Our goals are realistic and relevant. And our goals are thorough and thoughtful. So those are SMART goals. Don't just say, I'm going to lose weight. Well, how much weight? Well, did you ever weigh yourself before you started to talk about you're going to lose weight? Did you know your measurements before you started working out? So you know how many inches you need to. So, those kinds of things are important. We can't just get out here and do and think it's going to just happen. It's not going to just happen. You got to be a planner and a strategist if you're going to be successful. And this is such an open season for, and I say it again, Black women, don't take this time for granted. I have never seen a time like this in all of my life where Black women have so many opportunities. Don't miss it. Don't miss this window. It may not come back again in your lifetime.
Wow, that's powerful. And you're right. We have to be strategic in our approach. And thank God for Google University because it's free and you can look up whatever you need to look up and download the information. And, a lot of times, Teresa, I talk to people who are so ambitious. They want to start from 0 and go to 100 in a nanosecond. But I try to explain that, it's like the ant strategy. They take a little grain every single day or how often they do it, but it's a little piece. And before you know it, they have their whole house built.
Right. Well, Terra, I am a big picture thinker. And a lot of times I think universe level. And, people are like, what is wrong with her? And they're, I'm thinking universe, they're thinking city. I'm like, no, they're down on the street level, and they're like, no, I'm thinking what? And it's hard because I have to sometimes reel myself in and realize that process is important. So start, you crawl before you walk before you run. And then, before you run the marathon, you got to run the sprint. So you've got to understand that there's a process in everything. There's no progress without process. There's no success without process. So you've got to kind of go through it and you learn. Many times it's so good that you can learn in the small things. You can fail sometime, and don't be afraid of failure because nothing beats a failure but a try. And if you don't get out there and try, then you will never know how to stretch. And when you stretch, that's when you start seeing, wow, I can fly. But if you never stretch your wings, then you never know you could fly. And a lot of times we're afraid. And those of us who are sitting in fear, we got to begin to pray. We got to begin to affirm ourselves, to speak joy and peace around and speak to those things that are negative in our lives, that they will be broken off of you. And then move out of those things that are negative. Even if it's a habit of bad eating, just tell the French fries no. Say no to the French fries. Say yes to the salad. So, it's things like that are even those small things that, it just, it adds up. And so when I talk to people all the time, I say, especially millennials, my children are, they're a little past millennials, but they're mostly in that mindset, the millennial mindset. And yes, sometimes they just want to, go from 0 to 60, but it doesn't happen like that. And, when, especially for people who, you're in a job and you're like, I'm fed up. I'm really at the point where I just want to leave this job. Well, don't just leave the job. Prepare to leave the job, but don't leave it wrong. Leave the job right, because you never want to burn a bridge, because you never know when you'll need it again. So make sure that you leave relationships intact, that you make places where you have worked better because you were there, that people celebrate you when you leave and they miss you when you're gone, not glad to see you go. No, they should be like, wow, we hate to see you go. That's the best part of your life, is what you leave, the residue that you leave. I am so glad that I have a legacy of thousands and thousands of people who have read magazines that I've written, of thousands of people who have been impacted by the Gospel Heritage musical conferences and ministry conferences that I've done, the messages that I've preached. So all of these things are so, so important. What legacy are you building into, sowing into, and what legacy will you leave? That's the question that you need to ask yourself and begin to plan for as you plan for 2022.
Wow, that is so powerful. And that is a word that we will definitely, I know I will bring into 2022 because I believe that we are certainly in a reaping season. And I believe certainly what you said, especially women of color, we have been on the back side of the caboose, if you will, for so long. Yes. And it is a wonder. So grateful that, the heaven gates have opened up, and those who are in tune can take advantage of this opportunity and really go forth all the way with the visions God has given you, the gifting God has given you. This is the time. And like you said, this is not the time to fear. This is the time to go forth in boldness and courage and learn lessons. Like you said, everything is not going to be, an Oscar or a gold medal when you come out the gate, but you take those lessons and you fly with it to leave the legacy. Teresa, I am so grateful that you took the time to stop by and visit us today. We so deeply appreciate you. We cherish you in our community. You are one of the most powerful leaders that God has placed amongst us. And we just honor you for that.
Wow. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm going to get your book. I'm signing up. I'm going to try to participate in almost everything that you're doing.
All right. Thank you so much.
It's important. Well, I don't know where the time went. They're telling me that we have to go. And thank you, audience, so much for listening to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema Organization. You can visit us at www.aawic.org. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter and like us on Facebook. Talk with Terra is made possible by Rude Rangers Entertainment. Our creative director is Rudy J. Breedy. Please don't forget to like and share this episode with as many people as possible. We sincerely appreciate you joining us today and wish you continued peace, blessings, and prosperity. See you next episode.